evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Speaking of Zane, August the 24th. Where is the time going? This is our 322nd edition of Speaking of Zane. Getting up there, we first started back in 2018, a year and a half before COVID. Just incredible. I think we're still at it, speaking Zane's name and talking about related matters, military, veteran, etc. Good to have you all in here tonight. We skipped last week. Lori and I took a trip, and so did our daughter Hannah and her family, took a trip down to Savannah to visit Tyler's children. Our oldest son, Tyler, who passed. He's got two children, Zaylee and Colby. So we got to spend a good part of the day on Saturday with them, and then about a 4.5, 5 hour drive. Go back on Sunday after having breakfast with them, and then wasn't really filling up to Speaking of Zane after a 5 hour road trip. But here we are again for this edition. But we had a really good visit with them. We also got to see our good friends from church down there, Frank and Arlene Sauer. We had dinner with them on Friday night and went over to their place, and it was great to see them. They're 83 and 81, or 82 and 80, something like that. And they really, especially Arlene, became like a mother figure for us. The time that we lived in Savannah, and it was great to have her support in some challenging times, and that's the way friends step up. And anyway, it was great to see them. Let's see who we've got in here tonight. Lori is in there. Now, Lori is not here, so Lori has a heart of gold, and she's a stellar grandmother. And our daughter Hannah, who has the newborn Nyla, lives about 35, 40 miles away. But her husband is heading back to India for his brother's wedding, and so Lori is going to spend the next couple of weeks there with Hannah to help with the baby and with Everett, our little 9-year-old grandson, Hannah's son. So that's where Lori is at now, at Hannah and Colleen's house, and I think for a couple of weeks, maybe as much as a couple of weeks. And just grateful that we are flexible enough that Lori can do that for sure. Let's see. I had a good visit in St. Louis this past week. Quick trip, 3 days. I'll be going back again for about going over a weekend, and then much of the following week, September, the week of September the 8th, week of September 8th. I'll be there for a good bit of that, and I'm home for 2 weeks again, which is unusual for me. So I'll have 2 full weeks here at the house, and then to St. Louis for a week, and then back home for maybe a week or so, and then probably to London again. Still trying to iron out the details of our London trips for the rest of the year. It looks like I'll be making a week-long trip in September, perhaps, and then back again in December. So we'll see how that goes. I also got a new trip on the calendar. So, Lori, if you want to come along with me, I've been invited to our New York office for some activities. So in the month of October, I'll head up to New York for a couple of days. You guys hear I've got a little bit of a hoarse voice. I don't know why. I haven't been screaming or anything. But anyway, so I know there's some other trips in there that that I don't know about yet that'll come up, but I'm okay with it. I'm very flexible and do love to travel. Speaking of traveling, our daughter is back in Spain. Our daughter Charlotte's back in Spain doing another airport inspection. She sent some really good photos. Yeah, here's one reason. Yeah, so it just works out this way. I'll be back in St. Louis, where my company is headquartered, which is why I go there so often, for 9/11. And last year, you guys may remember me talking about in the St. Louis area, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings in the area that all have American flags, American flag poles, and everything. So last year had a detail of military veterans at each flagpole, and on the exact time that the first plane hit the first tower, the detail lowered the American flag to half staff, and then come back at the end of the duty day, 5 o'clock, and raise it back up. So we're going to do that again this year. I've got teams of military veterans that are going to be positioned at the various places, and I think I'll be there. It's on a Thursday. I think I'll still be there that Thursday. I'll come home Thursday night, but I'll get the opportunity to participate in that. So that'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Looking forward to some college football starting up next weekend. I know they started this past weekend. Was it Iowa State beat Kansas State over in Dublin? I don't know if Lori knows this, but those two teams traveled over to Ireland to play the first college game of the season. And Iowa State beat Kansas State. I didn't get to watch any of the game. I was following it online. But next week, everything will kick off and get started there. And of course, I'll be rooting for Texas A&M, as I have been ever since our daughter Charlotte went there. I ran into a couple of Aggie parents at the hotel in St. Louis last week, and they've had 3 of their kids go to Texas A&M. One of them is a doctor, a PhD doctor, and I couldn't get them to stop talking about and they had all their A&M gear on and everything. But anyway, it was kind of fun. But let's see. Wow. So last weekend when we were in Savannah, I got a text message from my old Air Force buddy, Frank Williams. Some of you may remember Frank. Flew on the E-4 radio communicator. And Frank messaged me and said, "Hey, Guy, I'm going to be doing a 50-mile road march next weekend." This was last weekend. He texted me. He says, "I'd like to honor Zane." And it's a military related. The founder is an Air Force veteran that dreamed up this idea of marching 50 miles from Lincoln to Omaha and raising money for veterans and addressing veteran homelessness and veteran suicides and things like that. And he started out 5 years ago with I think there were 9 of them, 6 or 9 that did the walk. This time there was almost 200 that did the walk. But anyway, so he said, I'm going to be marching 50 miles, and I want to honor Zane. Do you have anything of his you can send me that I can carry as motivation and to honor him? And I'm like, yes. This was like on Saturday. We were in Savannah. And so I get home on Sunday and everything, and then on Monday, I'm getting ready to go out of town, and I remembered, oh no, I told Frank I would send something. He needs to have it before Saturday. So I left town and forgot. I was going to send him a challenge coin that we had made for Zane, and like a name tape or a patch or something. But I totally forgot. So I think I'm at the airport when I messaged Lori, and I said, Lori, I told her the story. And I said, can you go up into my office, find one of Zane's challenge coins, and look for his 3rd Infantry Division patch, and can you mail them to Frank? and he needs them before Saturday. And like a trooper, she says, "Yep, I'm all over it." And uh, and she got it out the door, and he had it by Thursday. And then he sent me a picture, um, which I'm going to post on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group as soon as we're done here, and a picture of him holding a photo of Zane and the coin and his combat patch. And coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, on my walk Friday, I've been listening to Reach Across America radio. You guys, I've told you that before. I use iHeartRadio. Go to Reach Across America radio. Get some really wholesome content, a lot of veteran content stuff. Anyway, there happened to be a podcast on Reach Across America radio, and the guest was the founder of the 50 Mile March Foundation. That was going to be happening the next day. And it was like, so I got the full story on it, the history and all of that. So I had all the context, and I knew what Frank would be supporting. And so then Frank, when he gets there yesterday, Connie dropped him off in Lincoln. They start at the Capitol in Lincoln, and he took a picture, sent me a picture. He also honored, you guys may recall that Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dagan Page who was killed in the withdrawal from Afghanistan, buried in Omaha, and his folks live in the Beaver Lake area. Greg is his dad's name. I know him. He also had some items of Dagan's, and it was kind of cool that Frank would do that. Honor Dagan, honor Zane by marching the 50 miles. And it started at like 11 a.m. or so Saturday. And it took them 24 hours, right about 24 hours to march the 50 miles. So that means they marched overnight. They didn't sleep. And you can watch it on 50milemarch.tv. They're live streaming it. So I had it on in the background all the way till when I went to bed last night. And then when I got up this morning, I already had a message from Frank. Hey, we're at stop number so-and-so, halfway through this, that, and the other. And then I watched the remainder of it. But anyway, I appreciate Frank so much. We go all the way back to 87, 88, 1988, 89, something like that. And we have this very famous photo of him dressed up as Santa Claus for the kids. It's just a good friendship over the years, and for him to do that. And they raised a lot of money. They raised almost $750,000, which will go into the foundation to help veterans there in the Omaha area. So awesome organization. I don't know, Lori. I don't know if you're up for marching 50 miles, but I'm thinking if I'm still in good enough shape, maybe next year I'll go up there and march with Frank. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, that was kind of special last minute thing that happened, and just shows it shows how good humans are, and how remembering the fallen is ever present. So very good stuff. Thank you so much, Frank. I appreciate you very much. All right. Hat of the week, hat of the week, hat of the week. Hat of the week always has something to do with what the heck is going on around here at the fabulous McDonald Estate and Insane Asylum. And I don't think I've wore this hat for the hat of the week yet, but I picked it up on my little adventure with Charlotte in Scandinavia. And we got to Denmark, and we were doing some things we had planned, but we had some open time, and we're like, what can we do? We're looking at the map. Where do we go? I said, hey, we're walking distance from the Carlsberg Brewery. Let's go to the Carlsberg Brewery. And so we went to the Carlsberg Brewery. did a little tour and tasting, and met some folks from University of Alabama. Anyway, it was really good. One of those things you don't plan and you just do spontaneously. And anyway, so I picked up the Carlsberg hat, and that is the hat of the week. Yes, Lori, I do have a lot of patches. I need to figure out. I want to mount them. I guess I just need like a board with Velcro, and then I can put them where I want. I don't know, but she had to search through those loose patches to find the 3rd Infantry Division patch. Speaking of 3rd Infantry Division, hey, Jonathan Peters, we have you in there, one of Zane's battle buddies. All right. Did I do a roll call here? I said Lori's there, and then I got off track. Ken's in there. Carl's in there. Daryl's in there. Jimbo Miller's in there. And Ken's talking about the Buc-ee's. Yeah, I saw they have the Buc-ee's on the A&M campus now. That's interesting. But if you're going to have one somewhere, that would be to have it, where to have it. And then, of course, Jonathan's in there. Okay, yeah, I am kind of a hoarder, kind of a pack rat. I do have a lot of stuff up here in my fabulous suite. All right. Well, let's see. Let's move on. I only had one this week in military history item because I didn't go searching. I've been working around the house a little bit today. I did some laundry. I had to fix the actuator on my power window of my 2006 Tundra with 250,000 miles on it. I finally got it buttoned back up, and it looks better than new. Did that. Got a good 3-mile walk-in today. Did a few things around the house. Did a little work catch up on a few things. Speaking of military matters, there's a young lady in our London office called Caitlin, and about a year ago, Caitlin decided. She's an apprentice of ours. She decided to join the Royal Air Force, following her father's footsteps. So she joined the Royal Air Force, and so she's been going through all the training for that while she works for us. And anyway, she she's been taking pilots lessons, private pilots lessons, and her father's a pilot, and it's just in her blood kind of thing. Well, she recently applied to an airline pilot training academy, and she was accepted. Astronomical odds to be accepted, but she's going to go train to be an airline pilot, 100% paid for over the next couple of years. So she's leaving our company, but she's right at the cusp of earning her degree. When they work for us, we, along with the British government, we pay their business degree. So she has a few things to do to wrap up that degree before she moves on. And she asked me if I would write up like a recommendation for her. And I've known her in a couple of capacities, both in our workday and in our veterans organization. So she needed it for her final. It's called a witness testimony. She needed it for this portfolio that she has to deliver to complete her degree, and it has to be evidence of her activities in certain domains. And anyway, so I just finished writing that for her, and I'll shoot it to her here and go from there. But anyway, it's kind of a cool story there. They're not quite the generation there today. She tells me this. Her generation is not quite so keen in serving their country. There's not this great patriotic element in the moment, and so she's somewhat of an exception among her peers. But anyway, cool story there. But I only pulled one military history item, and that's because I have a friend at work who's a coworker and a friend and an Army veteran who's a paratrooper, and he does some really cool stuff with an organization called Phantom something or another. But he's a jump master, so they take a bunch of old paratroopers, and they let him jump again. And he's one of the jump masters. But that reminded me, this last week, who knew they had such a thing, but it was National Airborne Day on the 16th, and that's the only this week in military history item that I pulled. Let's see. Moving on to Veteran Cemetery Challenge. I know that Daryl made a visit to his wife Wanda at Jefferson Barracks today. I was actually going to head out to Georgia National today, and I did not. I ended up doing all those things I just said I was doing, so I didn't make it out there. But Daryl made it out there and missed a week, so I know he was there last week. And then I always count my dad, and those are the only ones I know. So 6 visits this week is what I'm counting, and that takes us to 1,572 visits since we started tracking those. Lori says my little granddaughter Nyla is watching her granddaddy. Hi Nyla. The girl. I'll get on a video call with her, and she just stares. She doesn't even blink. She just stares. So she's still trying to figure out who I am, I think. Okay. Thank the Vet Challenge. I do have some updates of mine over the last couple of weeks. I mentioned I was in St. Louis this week, and actually I hosted a military veteran social hour there, and so I had we had about 7 or 8 people show up, and we sat around and told lies for a couple hours, but it was good. But I also interacted with some other folks throughout the week there, and my tally was 5 Air Force, one of whom I met on the airplane, Ken, between Atlanta and St. Louis, and I had on a SAC T-shirt. He says, "Is that a SAC patch?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "I was a missileer." And anyway, we got to talk, and he was a missile officer, and of course knew of the Looking Glass and glory trips with Vandenberg and all the stuff. So it was a really cool conversation I was able to have with him. So he was one of my Air Force guys, and then I overloaded on Marines this week. I had 2 Marines, 2 Marines at the social hour, and then I met with our director of security, who's a Marine, and he introduced me to a couple of the officers in a group called Focus Marine. So we were talking about a partnership of some kind. So they were both Marines. So I had a total of 6 Marines, and then I had 3 soldiers, and then 6 Navy. 6 Navy folks that I interacted with or stumbled on or said thank you to. So my week was 20, which was a really good week for me. And I know there were some others. It's been a couple of weeks. I know there were some others in there that I always miss because I forget to write them down. But those are the ones I wrote down, and so it was good. 6 Marines, 6 Navy, 3 Army, 5 Air Force. And let's see, Carl was coming in with 4 state troopers. I hope it wasn't because they took 4 of them to pull you over, Q. Those added. And then Kim was chiming in. 15. Okay. Very good, Ken. That's a great tally there. A great mix too. And I know that when you do your part-time gig there, it's usually alongside military folks. So we got you for 15, Carl for 4. So that's 19. So that'll make it 39 for the week. 39 for the week. And that means that our count is currently, Daryl had two. Okay, Daryl coming in there with two. I think I saw that, Daryl. That doesn't always register with me. So I'm going to add two there. And then that means our total count so far, since we started tracking, is 3,664. So since Lori updated that, updated the poster board, let's see if I can. Lori updated the thank yous there to 3,000. We've added 664. So how about that? Too shabby. And that wasn't too long ago, was it, Lauren? Within the last year that we updated that thing. So keep up the good work. I tell you what, somebody that takes the time, the effort, and everything involved in serving the country in some capacity is worthy of acknowledgement for sure, and that's all we're seeking to do. So good on you for doing that. And that takes us right up to the end. I don't have any organizational updates. You learned about a new one, the 50 Mile March Foundation, which I will add to the list. And just seems like a great org. And there's no shortage of organizations like that. I guess it takes many to reach the many. Kelly at my workplace, she only has such a geographical influence, right? Likewise with this group in Omaha and all the other groups. So I say the more the merrier in that regard to reach the maximum number of veterans for sure. And then of course, you mentioned last time we're on the heels of the Running to Honor 5K. Great job done by Aaron, and we'll already be planning for next summer when Lori and I will actually make the pilgrimage to Michigan and participate in person there. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, well, let's take one more look in the chat here and see if I'm missing anything, and let you guys move on with your Sunday night. There's my Aunt Cindy. Hey, Aunt Cindy, we love you too. Appreciate you stopping in there. Yes, thanks for that reminder, Carl. I didn't know Butch. Of course, I knew the name. It's a small circle we were in there for sure. I know that he was just at the reunion you all had and looked great from the photos, and then boom, he's gone. Another one passed. So rest in peace there, Butch Hall. All right, team. Well, hey, thank you guys for joining. Therapy for me, for sure, to be able to get on here and talk about Zane and other things, grandkids and stuff. So I appreciate you guys coming along and enduring it alongside me. Well, that's great, John. Yeah, you just have to send me a note sometime and tell me about that. I'm a ham, of course. I think you know that, and not quite as active as I once was, but I do play around a bit still and listen probably more than I talk. But yeah, would love to compare notes with you there for sure. And thanks for stopping in, by the way. Appreciate that. Zane had a lot of great battle buddies, a lot of great friends, made a lot of friends. He was a character. It was hard not to like him. It was funny. Yeah, we missed the heck out of him. And one of the ways that we're always going to remember him is just say his name and talk about him, and that's where Speaking of Zane comes from. So thank you guys for doing that along with us, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a great week. Make it count, and we'll look forward to comparing notes next Sunday night once again here on Speaking of Zane. Good night, baby Nyla. Love you. See you later.